Why people pour into the streets in protest? Is it that they are just tired of the situation, especially the status of their roads, or it's politically motivated? Why do you think people are doing that these days? We've had about 4 cases in recent past.
I think people are just frustrated with the system. So a lot of the cases we've seen, spontaneous rioting, has to do with basic necessities of life. So good roads, lack of water. Maybe a community has a factory that is been disturbing people in terms of health implications, etc. So we've seen in Sakina where the spontaneous rioting was about poor nature of the roads. And from what we heard there, the community residents have been complaining about this for a while. So all you need in these circumstances is a trigger. So once there's a trigger, so it's been raining recently. So obviously, the already bad road has become even worse. So that can be a trigger. And we've seen areas also where, for example, we had reports in other places where the district chief executive, the members of parliament were prevented from entering the town. The town folks decided to block the road and vowed not to allow any political leader to enter the town, also because they believe the political leaders have failed them. They come there every 4 years to come and make promises of fixing the roads, but then once they win power, they tend to forget about them. So all this then builds up to a perfect mix, a recipe for chaos once the spark is provided. That is why we are seeing this. You know, when you suppress people for so long, when people feel oppressed for so long, when people feel you have neglected them for so long, and all avenues to dialogue has been exhausted, and they feel helpless and hopeless, the only reasonable means of action they find is revolt, which is what has happened in many cases that we've seen.
But today they are pouring onto the streets, they are burning tires. What do you foresee will happen in the near future?
Well, in the near future, we've seen what happens elsewhere in the world. They only will not burn tires and block roads. They sort of turn their anger onto the political leaders, the duty bearers, so to speak. We've seen. I think I saw it in somewhere in Europe, where a member of parliament or an appointee of state. There was a protest, and they held him and dumped him in the refuse bin, something to that effect. That is what will happen eventually. They blocked the roads and said the MP, the chief executive, cannot enter the town. The next time they will allow you to enter the town, and they probably will vandalize your vehicle, which is what we've seen in KNUST. So it's gotten to the point because it's been building up. They protested. Some of their members were assaulted. They feel the university authorities are blocking dialogue. Dialogue has been exhausted. Their grievance has not been resolved. They hit the streets on Friday. Some of their members are assaulted. The next thing they do, and that comes your question, is now let's take it on to the authorities who they blame for oppressing them. And so what they do, they burn their vehicles. They torch some of them, destroy property. I'm pretty sure if the Vice Chancellor happened to be around yesterday and they had seen him, there would have been physically bodily harm inflicted on him. That is where you get to when people feel oppressed. And I'm sure everybody will hope you don't get there. So authorities simply need to know that the signs aren't good. This is not rocket science. Everywhere in the world, when you oppress people for so long, at one point, they would have to revolt. And if they don't destroy public property, sometimes they might injure people. Even in worst case scenario, people die.